guest this afternoon. If you haven't had a chance to do so, please visit our website at peopleandissues.com. We do have a new question poll of the week, and by the way, you can bookmark our website so you can check in every morning and take a sneak peek at what I have going on my show each day. But we have a full slate of topics and guests this afternoon, and to kick off the first day of Black History Month, February 1, is my dear friend, Grady Abrams, community activist. Now, of course, you have heard him on my show before, and you heard him with Ben Hassan on this past Monday, and I can tell you that you're going to hear him pretty regular on this show, okay? On this station, as a matter of fact. We'd like to welcome you back to the show, Grady.
Thank you, Helen. Glad to be here.
Grady, I did some research on the history of Black History Month, and I wanted to share this with you and our audience. The origins of Black History Month. What we now call Black History Month was organized in 1926 by Carter Godwin Woodson as Negro History Week. The month of February was selected in deference to Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, who were both born in that month. And this goes on to say that Carter Woodson was a son of a slave born in New Canton, Virginia on December 19th, 1875. He began high school at the age of 20 and then proceeded to study at Berea College, the University of Chicago, the Sorbonne, and Harvard University, where he earned a Ph.D. in 1912. 1912, he earned a Ph.D. This is a quote that he had regarding Negro History Week, which I think is so appropriate for some of the things we'll be talking about today. And he says, we should emphasize not Negro history, but the Negro in history. What we need is not a history of selected races or nations, but the history of the world void of national bias, race hate, and religious prejudice. I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is.
And I found this quote before I found the history of Black History Month. So it's almost as if, a Negro History, Black History Month has kind of gone away a little bit from what his original intent was. What's your thoughts on that?
I believe it has. In fact, it has become commercialized. We have a history, but it shouldn't be separate from the history of this nation or any nation. We are part of the history of all nations, and especially this nation. So I think we should tie our history in the history of the country, not necessarily as a separate history of our own, because it's intermingled with the history of this country. And to set it aside makes it look like we are separate from this country, and that's something that I have a problem with.
And it seems like the whole idea of black, white, or the sensitivity or the lack of sensitivity regarding black and issues. Prime example. Yesterday, Joe Biden announces his candidacy to run for President of the United States. He's all fired up and confident, perhaps maybe a little overconfident, right. And he slams Obama, he slams Hillary, and Edwards.
Yes.
Now, as it relates to February Black History Month, the very first day, he makes a comment, Biden, today, he's had to apologize and try to explain a comment that he made regarding Obama, and he says Obama, a first-time senator, while calling him the first mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. Okay, and of course the media just took that and just blew it all out of proportion, which the media has a tendency to do. Right. So what are your thoughts about that statement, and were you offended if you had been Obama?
No, I would not have been offended. This country has too many other important issues to be discussing rather than what Joe Biden said about Obama. I think sometimes, Helen, we can be too sensitive, and we can dry people up from communicating with us because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know what to say to us. They don't know how to say it. So I think we ward off communication when we are overly sensitive to remarks that are made. I remember back when Tiger Woods won the first Masters, and one of the golfers talked about serving him some chicken, or was he going to have chicken at the master's dinner?
Right.
I mean, come on. How often do we make jokes about white people? How often do we tell our kids something about white people? But it has to be a two-way street. If we can talk about them, they ought to be able to talk about us without our being too sensitive to the remarks that are being made.
And it's almost like white America, so to speak, has to walk on eggshells,
yes,
so to speak, when it comes to those type of issues. And Biden goes on to say he used the word clean to describe Obama as fresh and new. And so later on, Obama, his response to that was, he didn't take offense, but that next time, use fresh and new, and that way it won't be controversial. And then, of course, the other part of the comment, it was as if it was a slam against civil rights leaders Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. I mean, my goodness, this went from him. I know Joe Biden is like, oh gosh, is this what the next 18 months are going to be like? Yes.
I've heard Al use some language, and I've heard Jesse use some language in reference to whites that I know they didn't like. But, we got to be able to take it as well as give it. And I'm afraid that we aren't on the taking end as yet. We are still trying to give it. And I guess we have a reason for doing it, but at some point we're going to have to stop and let's just do what's best for this country, regardless of who we are talking about and what group of people we are trying to defend.
Exactly. Now, I noticed there was another incident this week as it relates to racial stereotypes, and that was at Clemson University. And we're going to have to take a break in just a moment. But at Clemson University on Tuesday this past week, the Clemson University president James Barker decried a party where white students mocked black stereotypes by drinking malt liquor, and at least one student was dressed in a black face. And then it goes on to say that he was appalled. This is the president of the college, said he was appalled, angered, and disappointed when he learned that a group of Clemson students participated in activities at an off-campus party that appeared to mock and disparage African Americans. And then he goes on to say that many people have been offended and deeply hurt. And the other part of it is that this party was on Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday on January 15th, so that just put more fuel to the fire. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about that as well. We do have to take a commercial break. Don't go away. You're listening to People and Issues with Helen. I'm Helen Blocker Adams on the all-new News Radio 1230.
Schools of Cosmetology, we offer quality, real-life, hands-on career training. Our number one priority is preparing our students for a successful career and to provide the skills and confidence that will put you into the job you've always dreamed of. If you love working with people and are willing to devote the time and energy necessary for success, then this is the field for you. Financial aid is available for those who qualify. Call today to begin your new career. 803-278-1200. Kenneth Schuler Schools of Cosmetology. We've got the look.
Helping clients grow their business. That's what Super Saver Coupons is all about. We make advertising affordable. You can advertise for less than 4 cents per home, and you can target one or all of 13 zones in the CSRA. So you can spend your advertising in the marketplace that's closest to your business. Super Saver Coupons are well known, they're recognized, and they're anticipated in our market. With Super Saver Coupons, you get direct mail, TV, and internet, all for one low price. Direct mail coupon advertising is a proven medium that gives advertisers high-impact way to measure response. We have an 85% renewal rate with our clients, and almost 94% of our advertisers will advertise with us again. Super Saver Coupons, direct mail, TV, and internet, all for one low price. It's advertising that works.
Thanks Thanks for listening to your hometown news station, News Radio 1230 WNRR. We're growing, and we're glad to have you growing with us. We're working to bring you great local shows like People and Issues with Helen that airs every weekday from 1 till 3 in the afternoon. Helen Blocker Adams serves as the First Lady of Augusta Talk Radio with daily guests and issues that matter to our hometown, no matter what part of town you're from. And starting now, Can We Talk with Ben Hassan? That airs Saturdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And there's more on the way. In the meantime, you can visit our website at newsradio1230.com. There you'll find information about the station as well as advertising opportunities. We're proud to be your new hometown news station, News Radio 1230 WNRR.
Go! Here we go. Talk Radio WNRR.
Welcome back to People and Issues with Helen on the all-new News Radio 1230. I'm Helen Blocker Adams. I've got Grady Abrams here, community activist, in here on the very first day of Black History Month, and we're talking about an incident that happened at Clemson University this past Sunday, where there were some young people, college-age kids off campus that were having a party, and they were mocking black stereotypes by drinking malt liquor, and at least one student dressed in a black face. Of course, the president, Mr. James Barker, was outraged. And what happened, Grady, the school officials said they became aware of the party over the weekend and have met with some of the offended students. Mm-hmm. He said the party, which students said had and this is a quote, gangsta theme, was held the day before Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And the way the public, I guess, were aware of this party and what they were doing is that somebody from that group put the pictures from that on the social networking website, facebook.com. And then, of course, now, anybody can see it unless they've taken them off since then. So here we go again, dealing with racial stereotypes, and we're in February, Black History Month.
Yeah. Well, Helen, my take on that is that, we got bad people all around, and there are some people that we aren't, no matter what we do, no matter what laws are passed, these people are going to continue to have those kinds of attitudes. Now, the question is, if we're going hunting for deer and a squirrel runs across our path, do we waste time shooting that squirrel, or do we continue to hunt for the deer? I think there are larger issues that involve black people that we can't go around chasing after every incident that happens in the country, especially when these incidents are isolated. Now, we can attach race to it. If it happens to be black and white, we can say this incident occurred because this person was black. We don't know that for sure. But what I'm saying is that a lot of energy seems to be devoted to things that maybe could be taken care of by the individual that was offended, or the group of individuals that were offended, and not bring in the whole race to seem as if the whole race has been attacked by that one incident. A lot of times we don't get all the facts before we attach a meaning to the incident, and that's my concern. And I know there are a lot of people who are listening to me are saying, what has happened to Grady Abrams? Why is he talking like this? I'm tired of the race problem, and I see that we are not getting any place being demagogues in this regard. Fanning the flame and that kind of thing. I'm looking for solutions. We know what happened to us from 1619 until today. We know many blacks are still being mistreated. But are we going to take all of our time devoting to this, or are we going to say, let's take what we do have? Let's take what we do have. Let's take advantage of the opportunities we do have. Let us go to school. Let us get educated. Let us not be dropouts. Let us be homeowners. Let us do some of the things that will elevate us, rather than sit down and spend the whole day talking about what the white man did to us. I don't see where that is getting us anywhere in terms of advancement.
I know a lot of times in church you might hear pastors say, a lot of times that there's people who like to gossip about somebody else, and the pastor might say, well, if you're focused on your salvation and what you should be doing for you, you're not going to have time to be worried about what Jane or John is doing next, sitting next to you.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's kind of what you're saying, is that, hey, look, let's look at the big picture. You've got someone like Carter Woodson in 1912.
Yes.
Certainly didn't have the opportunities that we have
Right.
in 1912 and got a PhD.
Yes.
I mean, that is just absolutely amazing, but yet there's still the message being sent out there that, we don't have access and that sort of thing. So at what point, do we get beyond that? Do we get to a point where we recognize we're in a global society and it's more than just black and white?
Yes.
We are competing with the world.
Mm-hmm.
The internet has opened us up to that.
Right.
So when do we get to a point where enough is enough? Will that ever happen? Is there going to always be, I guess my question is there always going to be a group of people that perpetuates and highlights and magnifies this type of behavior in a way that it just makes it seem like that's the only thing that we as black people think about on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, sometimes we have to take time to evaluate those people who perpetuate this, because they are making money with this kind of talk. These people go all across the country and they give speeches and they earn money, keeping us in this victimization state of mind. But we got to come to the conclusion that we as a race of people, all of us are not going to get to the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are not going to get to the promised land because of choice. We don't want to go. We don't want to take advantage of moving into the promised land. So are we going to hold up other people simply because these have not come of age, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
Do we hold up those who want to move forward simply because we have some who don't want to go any place? So the question is, how do you define who is black and who is not? What is being black? We say, well, we're doing this for black people. I know there are some black people who don't need a handout, who don't need anybody to speak for them. They speak for themselves. So it is not all black people that we seem to be trying to fight for, but maybe those who are unfortunate, but even in some of those don't seem to want to go into place. So what do? Do you continue to fight for them, or do you take the attitude that, listen, I may not be able to bring John up to where I want to, but I can do something for myself. I can improve myself, and by improving myself, I am contributing to the race. Progress begins with the individual before he can help somebody else come forward. And we need to start taking the attitude of individual responsibility. Let us do something for ourselves first, then we can do something for our fellow man. It doesn't necessarily have to be our fellow black man, but our fellow man who is in need. And we got to get away from that, thinking that we are only obligated to our brothers, so-called brothers and sisters. We are obligated to the human race to contribute to this race and to make it better.
One of the things I got a chance to, and I have a good friendship with Mr. Joe Dudley, multimillionaire out of Greensboro, North Carolina, actually Kernersville, North Carolina, who made his millions selling hair care products, Dudley producing and manufacturing hair care products. And I remember hearing him speak at a function one day years ago, and he said the best way, and he was talking to African American business owners, and he said the best way to help the poor is to not be poor.
That's right.
And he didn't necessarily mean just in terms of financial, but like what you were just saying, if you are focusing on yourself from an individual standpoint, to do what you can to uplift yourself and put yourself in a situation where you can gain access to opportunities, meet people, network, the whole works, then you'll have the ability, the mindset to be able to help somebody else. And then we go into the African proverb, each one reach one,
Right.
each one reach one.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was pretty profound. The best way to help the poor is to not be poor.
That's right. Help yourself, and you have contributed to the poor, bringing the poor up, and bringing your race up, so to speak. But it's I just have a problem now that we are emphasizing blackness without looking at the whole human race, because we are not an island unto ourselves. We are part of this whole world makeup, and as we improve, we help others improve all across racial lines, and as they improve, they help us. Their inventions help us. The inventions that are made by black people help everybody. So my focus is on the human race now, not so much on, because I know if I help the human race, I'm helping the black race also.
That's right. And of course, you made the statement, you're probably, people are probably wondering, wow, what in the world happened to Grady Abrams? Because my mother and you went to high school together, and she told me he was a radical,
Yes.
back in the day.
Yes.
And but sometimes you need another radical change. And,
Yes.
even when you think of the NAACP and the SCLC, those are organizations that have a place here,
Yes.
but at the same time, sometimes the mission has to be changed.
Absolutely.
Even preachers who, when you look at the number of young people, you got to kind of change and tweak that message a little bit so that they can be able to relate, and let's move into the new times.
Absolutely.
Reverend Moss, the former pastor of Tabernacle, he was a genius at that. He recognized, hey, look, we've got to talk the talk and appeal to these young people.
Absolutely.
And our message is going to be a little bit different than it was back in the 60s.
Yes, and who was more radical in 1955 than Dr. Martin Luther King?
Okay.
Here this man was talking about making a protest where you allow people to beat on you, to take advantage of you, to sick dogs on you. And he was saying, let's do it in a nonviolent way. Let us not respond to the attacks that was radical.
That is radical. When
it
you
was
think that the natural response is to, to respond back, to fight back. Exactly. Exactly. That was radical. It's still radical in terms of thinking, but it definitely was the right radical way of thinking. Dr. King was just a phenomenal man, and we do have to, Grady, take a break to and go to the Georgia News Network on the half. We're going to return in a few minutes. You're listening to People and Issues with Helen. I'm Helen Blocker Adams on the all-new News Radio 1230. Don't you touch that dial.